Hello, my friend of shared destiny. Have you ever quietly wondered what truly happens beneath your skin each night? Most of us believe that sleep is simply closing our eyes to rest, temporarily forgetting the hardships of a long day in a distant land. However, the profound wisdom of ancient Zen masters points to a much more astonishing truth. They understood that while you sleep, the body does not stop. On the contrary, it is performing its most sacred overhaul. From repairing subtle cellular fractures and re-establishing order in the nervous system to purifying the mind of accumulated worries. But my friend, the real secret lies here. The monks remind us that not every sleep possesses the power of restoration. The greatest healing only truly begins at the moment your mind courageously lets go of all resistance, allowing the nervous system to recognize a definitive safety signal right at the threshold of dreams. If you miss this moment, you may sleep for enough hours, but your inner self will still wake up in a state of exhaustion. In today's video, we will explore why the body possesses such miraculous self-healing abilities and a minimalist ritual, a secret from the monastery to prepare your mindset in the most righteous way before sleep. Take a slow breath. The journey back to the harbor of peace officially begins right now. Ancient wisdom. When sleep is a ritual of rebirth, leisurely join me in returning to the space of ancient monasteries nestled in deep forests, where the rhythm of life is woven from the silence of nature and the profound sound of temple bells at sunset. For centuries, detached Zen masters have spent tens of thousands of hours each night quietly contemplating the rising and falling rhythm of the being. They recognized a subtle truth that the noisy world has long inadvertently forgotten. The masters understood that among fellow practitioners who performed the same hard labor daily, the results of recovery were completely different. They noticed that those who entered sleep with an empty heart, courageously leaving every burden of the old day outside the door of their hermitage, possessed an extraordinary ability to recover body and mind. These friends were not only less prone to illness, but every morning upon waking, their vision was clear and their vitality flowed like a pure stream clarified after a long night. From this deep observation, the masters concluded, true sleep is absolutely not just a temporary rest for the muscles. It is actually a grand reconstruction of the entire living system. In Buddhist wisdom, nighttime is the most sacred moment for our bodies to perform the act of returning. It is the time when vitality is withdrawn from external agitations to return and take refuge in the being, re-establishing energy balance and purifying the mind of piled-up grievances. However, my friend, the silent tragedy that keeps us exhausted in a distant land is that we inadvertently force the body to work overtime in the middle of the night. If you carry the stresses of the workplace, worries for children and grandchildren, or the chaos of unfinished plans into your dreams, you are unintentionally placing boulders that block the flow of recovery. When the mind is not still, healing vitality cannot circulate. Tonight, I invite you to learn to enter the darkness with the mindset of a Zen master, shed the armor of defense so the being is free to return to its most original state. For only when you dare to drop today, do you have enough space to receive a true rebirth tomorrow. The symphony of recovery in the darkness. Quietly contemplate the leisurely drift of the night outside as the noise of the American city recedes, making way for an enveloping silence. There is a miraculous reality that modern neuroscience is only now beginning to unveil, but which Zen masters perceived thousands of years ago. That sleep is not a soulless void, but the most sacred symphony of human recovery. Through the lens of direct realization, the moment you let go of consciousness to sink into slumber, the temple of your physical body begins a grand overhaul. This is the time when recovery hormones are secreted like sweet nectar, nourishing every tired muscle fiber after a long day of hardship. Subtle fractures in neurons begin to be silently mended, and your immune system, those silent guardians, works at its peak to purify and protect the being. Most special of all is the kingdom of the brain. In the tolerant darkness, the brain does not sleep peacefully. It performs an incredibly sophisticated act of clarification. All metabolic waste accumulated from thousands of restless thoughts during the day is swept clean, returning purity to the nervous system. Your subconscious at this time acts as a dedicated librarian, quietly rearranging the memory cabinets, reorganizing thought streams, and soothing unfinished emotional tremors. This is why, after a good night's sleep, when dawn awakes, you feel all the difficult problems in this distant land suddenly become light, your mind clear, and your vision brighter than ever. The knots of yesterday seem to have found their own opening in the silence of the long night. Ancient monks did not need complex medical terminology to understand this. They viewed the night as the hallowed time for the body to return home, to go back and take refuge in the natural and whole state of healing inherent in creation. To them, the most brilliant recovery does not come from stormy effort, but sprouts from complete surrender in the darkness. When you understand this rhythm, you will realize that every night of sleep is an opportunity to be reborn, to wash away the road dust of the world and return to your purest, most original self. The paradox of fatigue: why sleep enough but not truly rest? Gently recognize yourself in the first moments when dawn knocks in this distant land. There is a heartbreaking reality we have long faced. Why is it that even though you have lain still for 7 or 8 hours, when you wake up your shoulders are still heavy, your soul is still weary, and your vitality seems not to have been renewed at all? If the body was designed by nature to repair itself in the darkness, why does that revival refuse to visit the harbor of your life? My friend of shared destiny, the profound answer does not lie in the length of sleep, but in the silent command you sent to the nervous system at the threshold of the long night. Look back at the unconscious habits we often bring to bed amidst the hurried industrial pace of life in America. Before closing our eyes, instead of seeking stillness, our minds often restlessly chase the constant information on the phone screen, struggle to arrange future plans, or silently ruminate on unspoken grievances from yesterday. Unintentionally, you have forced your nervous system to perform a stressful overtime shift at the very moment it needs to be let go. When your mind is still agitated, your nervous system is actually in survival mode. It is always vigilant, always preparing for a non-existent attack from the ghosts of anxiety. Empathize with this. Your body absolutely cannot perform its healing function when it still believes that defense is necessary. Imagine this as trying to repair and decorate a house while the red alarm bell is still wailing through every room. Until the alarm is turned off, all recovery resources are blocked, for vitality is currently prioritized for survival. You sleep, but your nervous system is still standing guard in exhaustion. Detached Zen masters understand this law thoroughly. They understand that if the fire of vigilance is not extinguished before lying down, sleep is merely a passive, clouded state. Therefore, instead of forcing themselves to sleep, they spend a few minutes preparing a soil of consciousness that is safe and leisurely. They learn to disarm their inner weapons, removing the armor of defense so the being can rest completely under the protection of silence. Tonight, I invite you to perform that great shift from one who is fighting to one who is receiving, through a sacred 3-minute ritual that the world has long inadvertently forgotten. Wisdom before rest, when ashes need not hold the fire. Gently visualize the image of a Zen master leisurely walking toward his hermitage as the twilight fades behind the mountain peak. Before crossing the sacred threshold to rest, he always performs an act of consciousness. He quietly brushes the road dust from his robe, leaving his shoes and the entire agitated world outside the door. In the wisdom of the detached, each day is a small lifetime, and when night falls, that lifetime must be completed most fully. My friend, the greatest secret of monks lies not in complex techniques, but in inner renunciation. They never carry the burden of today into their dreams. In the silence of the monastery, before lying down, the monks spend a few moments in stillness. They sit quietly, leaning on a slow breath, and silently perform a clarification of the soul. They do not analyze whether today was a success or failure. Do not agonize over a misplaced word in a distant land, nor restlessly arrange plans for tomorrow. They understand that, Ashes do not need to hold the fire, and what has passed should absolutely not be relit in the middle of the night. There is a soul-stirring teaching from a virtuous master that I want you to engrave in your heart right now. Sleep does not actually heal your body. The peace you bring in before sleep is the true restorative medicine. Sleep does not heal the body. The peace before sleep does. We are often too obsessed with the number 8 on a digital clock, yet forget the quality of energy we hold each night. A long sleep under the vigilance of the nervous system is actually just a weary journey in the dark. Conversely, just a few moments of being truly okay with reality, truly feeling you owe the world no explanation and yourself no perfection, is the moment the door to ultimate recovery officially flings open. Monks do not force themselves to sleep. They only prepare an atmosphere of surrender. When your mind is empty and light as mist, your body receives the peace command to mend the most subtle fractures of the being. Tonight, I invite you to learn to enter the darkness, not as a traveler heavy with the luggage of worry, but as a leisurely cloud, freely dissolving into the void. Because vitality only truly rises strongest when the controlling ego completely steps back. Night Reset Ritual. 3 minutes to return to the pure self. Now, as the curtain of night has gently closed and the space around you becomes silent, I invite you to perform the most sacred journey of each day, the journey back to yourself. Do not view this as a difficult exercise. See it as a gift, a precious spiritual ritual you give to your weary self after a lifetime of hardship in a distant land. This ritual lasts only 3 minutes of a human life, but it carries the power to unlock all the chains of worry, to fling wide the gate for radiant vitality to be restored. Lie very still, letting your entire body be supported by the tolerance of the mattress, and begin with me through the 3 steps of liberation. Step 1. Awaken the bridge of breath, the command of peace. I invite you to gently close your eyes. Bring your attention back to take refuge in your own breath. Do not try to be a harsh commander. Do not force the breath to be deep or slow immediately. Simply be a silent witness. Inhaling, you know vitality is nourishing every cell. And as you begin to exhale, actively prolong that breath a little more. Imagine your exhale now is like a sigh of relief when you have just dropped a 1,000-pound burden after a long and arduous journey. Modern science has proven that an exhale longer than the inhale is the most definitive biological code to awaken the vagus nerve. It informs your vigilant brain the war has truly ended. Danger is no longer here. Now we are safe to recover. After just a few such leisurely breaths, you will feel your shoulders drop, your jaw release, and a wave of soothing calm begin to spread through your blood vessels. Step 2. Inner renunciation, closing every unfinished chapter. When the breath has become smooth, I invite you to perform a gesture of wisdom. Imagine your mind now is like an ancient library, and today is a chapter you have just finished writing. Whether that chapter was filled with radiant joy or heavy with the low notes of worry about children, health, or unfinished plans, please courageously perform a sacred powered down command. Whisper within your consciousness this liberating mantra: today is truly complete. Everything happened as it was meant to be. In this moment, I have no more problems to solve. Please listen carefully to the weight of this affirmation. You owe today no more explanations, and you owe yourself no perfection. Let every unsolved problem wait outside the bedroom threshold. When you dare to declare the end of the old day, your nervous system truly receives a retirement license to make way for the deepest overhaul in the darkness. Step 3. The signal of protection melting into silence. This is the final step, where you return sovereignty to nature. Stop observing the breath. Stop arranging the mind. Now, let tolerant awareness spread throughout your physical being. Feel the weight of the body slowly sinking deep into the support of the bed, like Mother Earth stretching out her arms to embrace the child, returning after many days of wandering. Feel the gentle warmth rising in your chest and the holy stillness of the night. At this time, you are no longer the breadwinner, no longer the worrier, nor the patient, relentlessly seeking a cure. You are simply a pure life, opening your heart to be protected by the universe. Gently tell every cell, you are safe, you are loved. Now, do what you have always understood, heal yourself. With just 3 minutes of complete surrender, you have created an ultimate recovery atmosphere for yourself. Let yourself fall, melt, and be formless in this boundless silence. Everything is completed. Tonight, the entire universe will care for this life for you, so that waking up tomorrow morning, you find yourself a radiant sprout, full of vitality and overflowing with original joy. The power of silent persistence, when peace becomes an instinct. Contemplate the rhythm of night dew, silently soaking into the heart of Mother Earth in this distant land. Dew is not loud like a storm, but it is that persistent and gentle soaking that possesses the power to nourish a lush forest. Your journey of nourishing silence each night operates according to an identical, profound law. When performing the 3-minute ritual becomes a pure habit every night, you'll begin to recognize miraculous shifts from deep within your being that we have long desired. Transformation does not happen like a sudden storm, but it weaves into your life leisurely and surely. One morning, waking up in the silence of your home in America, you suddenly find your shoulders light, as if you had just dropped the 1,000-pound burden of yesterday. The daily rhythm of breath suddenly becomes vast and deeper, even amidst the most hurried times. The mist of worry that has long obscured your vision gradually vanishes, returning to you a clear, lucid mind to face every fluctuation in a foreign land with a dignified posture. The knots of tension that have clung to your skin also begin to loosen their dominance, making way for a radiant flow of vitality to spread through your blood vessels. My friend, the ultimate secret of this journey lies in this. Healing occurs not because you have struggled to do more, but because you have courageously intervened less. Your nervous system is inherently a wise and loyal entity. When bathed in a safe atmosphere long enough, it will automatically remember the way home. You do not need to use your will to force neurons to stabilize or command hormones to balance. You simply create a vast space, shedding the role of the strict supervisor to let the body be free to perform the sacred function it has thoroughly understood from the beginning. When you stop trying to hold on to vitality, vitality will revive most brilliantly in your very surrender. Friend of shared destiny, let the words "shared just now" quietly settle into your consciousness, like golden dust slowly falling to the bottom of a still lake in the clear night of this distant land. Detached monks for thousands of years did not restlessly search for far-off miracles outside. They simply understood a most original and great law of nature, that the temple of your physical body already carries within it a peerless wisdom of revival, an ability to mend every subtle fracture from the moment you were born. Our task has never been to use coercive will to create healing. The only task of an awakened soul is to patiently create a peaceful atmosphere so that restorative power is allowed to manifest. Understand this liberating truth. Sometimes, the most brilliant recovery comes not from trying to do more, but from courageously letting go of more. Therefore tonight, at the fragile threshold of dreams, I invite you to give your being the most sacred gift, a moment of absolute silence. Let the phone be far from reach. Let all worries for the world wait outside the threshold. Just a slow breath, a complete surrender into the arms of the tolerant darkness. Perhaps that is the moment when the miracle truly begins to operate in your every blood vessel and neuron. Thank you for your trust and for accompanying me on the path of awareness. Wishing you a long night of peace and a brilliant morning of rebirth in boundless joy. Goodbye and sleep very well.